The entertainment industry thrives on glamour, secrets, and whispers that echo louder than thunder. But every once in a while, a revelation drops that doesn't just stir the waters, it shakes the very foundation of what fans believe to be true. And recently, whispers emerged of something shocking, a hidden journal entry belonging to Shu Kai, the rising star adored for his charm and unforgettable performances. But this wasn't just any journal entry. Tucked away in private pages, believed to be locked from the public eye, Shu Kai allegedly poured out his thoughts, and at the center of them all was none other than Tan Songyun. Yes, Tan Songyun, the beloved actress who has lit up screens with her warmth, energy, and unmatched ability to connect with viewers' hearts. What Shu Kai supposedly wrote about her were words so raw, so honest, and so utterly game-changing, that if true, they could alter the way fans see their bond forever. The question is, how did this entry come to light? And more importantly, what exactly did Shu Kai write that changed everything? It all began quietly, without the explosions of paparazzi or viral photos. A member of a production crew, someone who had once worked closely with Shu Kai, hinted at the existence of a private journal. According to this source, Shu Kai often carried it with him on set, scribbling thoughts between takes, recording feelings that seemed far too intimate to ever be revealed. One late evening, during the wrap of a long filming day, Shu Kai was seen writing in it again. He wasn't the playful, charismatic man fans were used to seeing on screen. His eyes carried weight, his pen moved with a kind of urgency as if he was racing against his own emotions. That journal, the crew member said, wasn't just paper and ink. It was the vault of his soul. And hidden inside, in one of its entries, were words dedicated to Tan Songyun. Imagine the scene, Shu Kai, alone in his hotel room. The city outside buzzing with neon lights and midnight traffic. The world thought he was resting after an exhausting shoot, but instead, he sat by the window, journal open, pouring every ounce of himself into the page. His words, though never meant to be seen, carried the force of truth that can't be silenced. He wrote about Tan Songyun not just as a co-star, not just as a colleague, but as someone who had left a mark deeper than he expected. I never thought her laughter would echo in my mind even after the cameras stopped rolling, one line allegedly read. It's like a melody I can't turn off, a reminder that some people don't just act in your life, they live in it. These words were enough to leave fans speechless. Was Shu Kai confessing something more than admiration? Was this the quiet revelation of feelings long hidden from the public eye? The entry didn't stop there. Shu Kai went further, describing Tan Songyun in ways that went beyond surface beauty or professionalism. She listens in a way that makes you feel seen, another part said. On set, she has this way of grounding me. Even when the world feels like chaos, she creates this space where I can just breathe. It terrifies me how much I rely on that. It was the kind of confession no fan or critic could have expected. Shu Kai, who often seemed so confident, almost untouchable, was admitting vulnerability. He wasn't talking about scripts, rehearsals, or fame. He was talking about connection, raw, real, and unfiltered. But here's where it gets even more mind-blowing. In another part of the journal entry, Shu Kai revealed a moment that no one outside the set knew about, a hidden encounter with Tan Songyun that fans never caught on camera. He described a night after a long day of filming. The crew had dispersed, the lights had dimmed, and Shu Kai found himself restless, wandering the quiet streets near the shooting location. Unexpectedly, he bumped into Tan Songyun. She was carrying a cup of warm tea, hair tied up casually, completely unguarded by the image of celebrity. They ended up walking together under dim streetlights, talking not about scripts, but about life, family, and dreams. For the first time in years, I forgot about being Shu Kai the actor, his entry read. I was just a man, walking beside someone who made the night feel less lonely. It was a detail so intimate that readers of the leaked journal couldn't help but question, was this the beginning of something deeper, hidden away from the public for years? The most powerful part of the entry, however, came in its closing lines. Shu Kai admitted something so daring, it sent shockwaves through those who heard of it. If the world ever knew how much she matters to me, everything would change. Maybe I'd lose her, maybe I'd lose everything. But if there's one truth I can't silence, it's this: she is the one chapter one can't rewrite, no matter how many scripts they hand me. Those words, the one chapter one can't rewrite, struck like lightning. For a man whose life is built on scripts, roles, and endless rewrites, Shu Kai was admitting that his bond with Tan Songyun was unshakable, unalterable, and beyond performance. Now, here's where the drama spirals even further. The leak of this journal entry didn't remain in whispered circles for long. Once fans got hold of the rumor, social media exploded. Hashtags linking Shu Kai and Tan Songyun trended worldwide. Clips of their past interviews, behind-the-scenes banter, and subtle glances were reanalyzed in slow motion by eagle-eyed fans. Suddenly, every smile seemed loaded with meaning. Every laugh carried a hidden weight. Every silence between them became deafening in hindsight. And for Tan Songyun herself, she remained quiet. No statement, no denial, no confirmation. That silence only fueled the storm. Fans speculated endlessly. Did she know about the journal? Did Shu Kai ever confess these words to her directly? Or was this a one-sided revelation, buried in ink, never meant to escape? Some close insiders even suggested that Tan Songyun had seen parts of the journal herself, that Shu Kai, in a moment of trust, had shown her the entry. According to one whispered account, she had tears in her eyes as she read it, but instead of speaking, she closed the journal, placed her hand over it, and gave Shu Kai a quiet smile. What did that smile mean? Was it acceptance, affection, or gentle refusal? No one knows. But the ambiguity only made the story more electrifying. As the frenzy continued, something else happened. Old clips of Shu Kai mentioning Tan Songyun resurfaced. Fans noticed how his eyes softened when speaking of her, how his laughter seemed different in her presence. And the journal entry gave those moments a brand new meaning. It was as if the truth had been hiding in plain sight all along. Producers, too, began chiming in. One director recalled how Shu Kai once stayed late after a shoot, insisting on rehearsing a scene with Tan Songyun even when it was already perfect. It wasn't about the scene, the director hinted. It was about her. The power of Shu Kai's words isn't just in what they reveal, but in what they risk. By admitting how much Tan Songyun meant to him, even in private, he placed his heart in the most fragile of positions. In an industry where love stories are scrutinized, dissected, and sometimes weaponized, such a confession could change the trajectory of both their careers. And yet, isn't that what makes it all so breathtaking? That in the glittering, guarded world of fame, Shu Kai dared to write down a truth that was completely unguarded. To this day, the authenticity of the journal entry remains debated. Some say it's exaggerated, others insist it's genuine. But one thing is undeniable. Those words, whether read by millions or held quietly by Tan Songyun herself, changed the way people view Shu Kai. No longer just an actor. No longer just a rising star. But a man vulnerable, passionate, and unafraid to immortalize his feelings on paper. And as for Tan Songyun, fans continue to wait, to speculate, to wonder. Will she ever respond to those words? Or will the silence itself be her answer? Whatever the outcome, one truth remains. Shu Kai's hidden journal entry about Tan Songyun has rewritten the narrative. It has turned whispers into roars, glances into symbols, and moments into memories that fans will never forget. Because in the end, it wasn't just a journal entry. It was a confession, a revelation, and perhaps, the beginning of a love story the world was never supposed to see. When news of Shu Kai's secret journal entry first surfaced, the world only caught fragments, whispers of words he wrote, emotions he confessed, and a name that echoed louder than all others, Tan Songyun. But what if I told you that the leaked lines were only the beginning? What if the truth behind that hidden journal was far more layered, emotional, and dangerously intimate than anyone dared to imagine? The entry itself wasn't just one page. That night, Shu Kai wrote an entire sequence of reflections, raw, unfiltered, and brimming with confessions that would have never survived the harsh spotlight of fame. A crew member who allegedly caught a glimpse of these pages said the words weren't neatly scripted like Shu Kai's lines in a drama. Instead, they were messy, rushed, ink smudged in places where it seemed his hand had trembled. It was the kind of handwriting that doesn't lie, the kind that comes only when emotions overflow. One passage stood out like fire on the page. She is not a role I can play. She is not a character I can rehearse. She is the scene that lives on even after the cameras shut down. I don't know what terrifies me more, the thought of her finding out, or the thought of her never knowing at all. That line alone was enough to set social media ablaze. Fans replayed old behind-the-scenes clips, looking for cracks in the facade. Had Shu Kai really been carrying this weight all along? Had every smile he gave her hidden 1,000 unsaid words? But the most haunting part of the journal was the way Shu Kai described the little things, the kind of details no outsider could ever notice. He wrote about how Tan Songyun always tilted her head slightly when listening, a gesture that made him feel like every word he spoke mattered. He wrote about how she laughed without restraint, so unpolished and real, it cut through the artificiality of sets and lights. He even described the way she carried tea for others during long shoots, as if she's the caretaker of every tired soul on set. She doesn't just enter a room, Shu Kai wrote. She changes its air. And I am always the one who breathes differently because of her. Now here's the twist that no one saw coming. According to someone close to Shu Kai, that night wasn't the first time he had written about Tan Songyun in his journal. There were multiple entries scattered across weeks, maybe even months, each one like a breadcrumb trail of emotions building up in silence. One earlier entry, written after a particularly challenging day of filming, was said to be even more revealing. She stood by me when I forgot my lines today. No judgment, no impatience. Just her quiet presence, steadying me like an anchor. I smiled through the scene, but inside, I felt something shift. Why does her kindness cut deeper than anything else? These repeated mentions painted a picture that was undeniable. This wasn't fleeting admiration. This wasn't a one-night impulse. It was something that had been growing, silently, persistently, until it spilled onto those pages with unstoppable force. The story takes an even more dramatic turn when you realize how carefully Shu Kai guarded this journal. Insiders revealed that he carried it everywhere, to sets, hotels, even during travels. It was always tucked away in a bag, close to him like a hidden treasure. And yet, in one chilling twist of fate, the journal almost slipped into the wrong hands. During a late-night wrap-up, Shu Kai had left it on a makeup table in his rush to leave. A staff member noticed it, recognizing the initials scribbled on the leather cover. Out of curiosity, or perhaps fate, they peeked inside. What they found wasn't just the confession, but pages soaked in raw honesty that no actor could ever perform. The staff member later whispered to others, "I felt like I was reading something I was never supposed to see." It wasn't just words. It was like walking into someone's soul. One scene Shu Kai described in detail has since become legendary among fans. He recalled a day when Tan Songyun was exhausted after hours of retakes under the hot sun. She leaned back in her chair, closing her eyes for just a moment. Shu Kai, instead of resting himself, simply sat nearby and watched her quietly. "I wanted to memorize that moment," he wrote. The strands of hair escaping her bun, the way her chest rose with each breath, the calmness she radiated even in exhaustion. Cameras capture images. But my memory of her captures something no lens could. It was this level of detail, intimate, vulnerable, almost poetic, that sent shivers through readers. These weren't just the musings of a man with admiration. They were the words of someone profoundly affected, possibly in love. The most mind-blowing revelation, however, was found at the end of that fateful entry. Shu Kai ended with a chilling prediction that fans can't stop dissecting to this day. "One day, the world will force me to choose silence or truth. If that moment comes, I fear the silence will destroy me more than the truth ever could." Those words, written in private, now echo across social media like a prophecy. Fans wonder, has that moment already arrived? Was the leaking of his journal the very truth Shu Kai feared? And if so, what comes next? The fallout from this revelation continues to ripple. For Tan Songyun, the silence remains deafening. Her choice not to respond has left fans suspended in a storm of speculation. Did she already know about these hidden confessions? Did Shu Kai ever dare to speak them aloud to her face? Or has she been just as blindsided as the rest of the world? The truth is, no one knows. And perhaps that is the very reason this story has captured hearts worldwide. It is the mystery of love unspoken, of feelings hidden in ink, of a man torn between his heart and his world. Because in the end, Shu Kai's journal isn't just about Tan Songyun. It's about vulnerability in a world that demands masks. It's about the courage to write what cannot be said. And it's about the terrifying beauty of emotions that, once revealed, change everything forever. And so, the question remains hanging in the air like a lingering echo. What happens when the words meant to be hidden become the words that define you? Shu Kai's hidden journal entry may have been written in silence, but today, it speaks louder than any drama he has ever performed. And whether it's the beginning of a love story or the end of an untold chapter, one thing is certain: the world will never see Shu Kai and Tan Songyun the same way again. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more shocking and emotional celebrity stories that you won't find anywhere else.